The people of Gaza haven't had much to eat since the war began. And now, for the first time, the UN says a state of famine is evident in northern Gaza. Severe restrictions have blocked food deliveries. Israel's constant bombardment is further isolating more areas, forcing Palestinians to survive on leaves, scraps, and food handouts. The head of the UN World Food Programme is renewing calls for a humanitarian ceasefire.
What I can explain to you is that there is famine, full-blown famine in the north, and it's moving its way south. And so with what we're asking for and what we continually ask for is a ceasefire and the ability to have unfettered access to get in, safe and unfettered access to get into the into Gaza, various ports and various gate crossings. But it hasn't always worked that way.
Israel has been blocking most of the aid trucks from coming in, allowing only a trickle of aid to reach Palestinians. International efforts have shifted to air dropping supplies, but that's insufficient and unsustainable to meet the dire need on the ground.
It's horror. It's so hard to look at and it's so hard to hear also. So I'm so hoping that we can get a ceasefire and begin to feed these people, especially in the north, in a much faster fashion, but also including, as I said, water, sanitation, medicine. It's all part of the famine issue. And it's also something that we need to make sure that the world understands. We can't let this happen.
The entire Gaza population of 2.3 million people do not have enough food, and the crisis is escalating each day. Children are struggling the most. Hospitals started reporting the first deaths from starvation in early March. Efforts to prevent famine hinge on a ceasefire, but a deal remains as elusive as ever. Aksel, Zaimovic, Al Jazeera.
Ben Grant's the Gaza lead for the food relief group Global Empowerment Mission. He's joining us live from Deir al-Balah in Gaza. Ben, good to have you with us. We saw at the top of Aksel's report there pictures of a family in Jabalia who are struggling to find food. I know that you and your teams have been delivering some aid there. Talk us through what you have been seeing when in Jabalia.
Well, it is extremely distressing, especially the mission that we just came back from, comparing the difference between the areas or the people in the areas of the south and the middle areas with comparison to the north. I mean, the people are looking extremely skinny, exhausted. There is definite famine within the regions there and on a mass scale. So this is why stepping up our efforts to ensure we can get the aid to the people as quick as possible is so essential right now.
How difficult is it to get aid to people into Gaza generally, but also to the north particularly?
Yeah, so, getting them into Gaza, we all know it's been slow utilising, pretty much the one crossing, the Rafah crossing. But, to then, once we get aid in there, which we have managed to do in a reasonably large scale to the south, to get it up to the north is a whole other process. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's more around the lines of having to ensure our safety as well as the safety of the aid. And so we carry out the deconfliction notification process with the IDF, where we have to draw up and write up every single movement we're going to do, the vehicles, the load, where they're going to go, the exact grid locations, and the timings. And then on the actual day of the movement, we have to have constant communication with them to inform them of exactly where we're going to be. So every step of the way, we're waiting for a green light. The green light to move on, head to that location. But the problem with this is the communication side of things. It's trying to get signal on the phone in an active war zone. It's very difficult to get hold of the IDS to get the green light. Sat phones don't always work. We can't have Starlinks. We just need to up on the communication, and that will probably speed up the whole process. But we also need to ensure that we can get more aid up there. More larger aid convoys need to be allowed. We're particularly hopeful of the Erez crossing now opening and us being able to utilise that, because that will massively increased the amount of aid coming in.
Obviously, the aid is in desperate need by the people, and one would imagine from what our correspondent Hani Mahmoud was saying earlier on, more and more people are heading back northwards as they feel slightly safer about doing that. Therefore, the demand increases. Tell me about the kind of delays that you're facing. If you get a truck that's going across the border into Gaza, how long does it take to get that truck eventually up towards northern Gaza?
Well, from the moment we set off, I'd say, to the moment we actually get to our warehouse, it could take anything from 6 to 9 hours, maybe, which is unbelievable. And that's just having to wait. Like I said, it's an active war zone. So waiting at the checkpoint for the operations to come underway and then allowing us to go through. And there's always delays. So it is very, very difficult.
Are you able to tailor the kind of aid that you're supplying? Do you have a clearer idea now of what kind of aid people actually need, particularly in northern Gaza, particularly around Jabalia? Or is it a question of just trying to get as much of any type of aid as possible into Gaza and then trying to disseminate it as you see fit?
Yes, well, I mean, we had a breakdown of different food aid that we brought up there. We took, bags of flour, about 26,000 kilos of it, 21,000 kilos of rice. But then we also maximised on food parcels. Now, these are very, very special because they haven't actually been distributed to anyone up there, and it allows families to not just have one particular large bulk commodity. They can have a whole range of different products that the full family would be able to survive on for a number of days. And these are the areas that I think needs to be focused on, simultaneously, actually, with hygiene kits. If we can have food parcels and hygiene kits to the families, it means they have absolutely everything they need, the bare essentials they need to be able to survive. So that's what we're trying to maximise on right now.
Ben Grant is from the Food Relief Group Global Empowerment Mission, and we appreciate you being with us. Thank you very much indeed, Ben.
Thank you.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.